Standing in the marble lobby of Zenith Marketing Solutions at 9:15 on a Friday morning, watching my former boss Marcus Wheeler frantically packing his corner office while two security guards supervised every box he touched, I couldn't suppress the smile spreading across my face. The same man who had laughed in my face just 8 weeks ago when I presented what he called the most ridiculous marketing proposal he'd ever seen, was now desperately trying to salvage his career after discovering that his biggest competitor had just launched a campaign using the exact strategy he'd rejected. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. But this story isn't about getting even with someone who underestimated me. It's about what happens when you believe in your vision so deeply that you're willing to risk everything to prove it, even when the person who should support you becomes your biggest obstacle. 8 weeks earlier, I thought I had finally found my place in the competitive world of digital marketing. My name is Sarah Chen, and at 31, I had spent 7 years climbing the ladder at various advertising agencies in Chicago's bustling downtown district. Zenith Marketing Solutions represented what I believed would be my breakthrough opportunity, a mid-sized agency with ambitious growth plans and a reputation for innovative campaigns that helped brands connect with younger demographics in authentic ways. The company occupied 4 floors of a converted warehouse in River North, complete with exposed brick walls, industrial lighting, and the kind of open workspace design that was supposed to foster creativity and collaboration. I had joined Zenith 6 months earlier as senior creative strategist, a role that promised significant autonomy in developing campaign concepts for the agency's most important clients. The position represented a substantial step up from my previous job at a smaller boutique firm, both in terms of responsibility and compensation. More importantly, it offered access to bigger budgets and higher-profile brands that could serve as the foundation for building a portfolio that would establish my reputation in the industry. The marketing world in Chicago was intensely competitive, with dozens of agencies competing for the same clients and the same talented professionals who could deliver results in an increasingly complex digital landscape. My direct supervisor was Marcus Wheeler, the 45-year-old creative director, who had built his reputation during the early days of social media marketing, when brands were just beginning to understand the potential of platforms like Facebook and Instagram. Marcus had an impressive track record of successful campaigns and maintained relationships with senior executives at several Fortune 500 companies, making him one of the most influential creative leaders in Chicago's advertising community. He was known for his sharp wit and strategic thinking, though some colleagues whispered that he had become increasingly risk-averse as the industry evolved beyond his core areas of expertise. From my first week reporting to Marcus, I sensed that our working relationship would be complicated by fundamental differences in how we approached marketing strategy and creative development. I was passionate about emerging trends in consumer behavior and digital engagement, particularly the ways that younger demographics were interacting with brands through newer platforms and technologies. My background included extensive research into generational preferences and consumption patterns, and I had developed several successful campaigns that leveraged data analytics to create highly targeted and personalized marketing experiences. Marcus, on the other hand, seemed most comfortable with established marketing principles and proven strategies that had worked reliably for traditional demographics and mainstream consumer segments. He frequently expressed skepticism about what he called trendy approaches to digital marketing, preferring campaigns that relied on broad appeal and conventional messaging, rather than the kind of niche targeting and authentic engagement that I believed was essential for connecting with modern consumers. This philosophical divide created tension in our collaborative process, with Marcus often pushing back against my suggestions for incorporating newer platforms or experimental approaches into our campaign proposals. The friction between us had been building steadily over the months, as I struggled to implement innovative ideas within the framework of Marcus's more conservative creative vision. Several of my proposals for client campaigns had been significantly modified or completely rejected during the internal review process, with Marcus citing concerns about client acceptance and campaign effectiveness. While I understood the importance of managing client relationships and delivering reliable results, I felt increasingly frustrated by what seemed like resistance to the kind of forward-thinking strategies that I believed would differentiate Zenith from its competitors. Despite these challenges, I had been working on something that I was convinced could transform not only Zenith's creative capabilities, but potentially influence the broader direction of digital marketing strategy across the industry. The project had started as personal research into emerging consumer behavior patterns, but it had evolved into a comprehensive marketing framework that addressed some of the most significant challenges facing brands in the current digital landscape. The approach combined advanced data analytics with psychological insights about consumer motivation and decision-making processes, creating opportunities for unprecedented levels of engagement and conversion. The foundation of my strategy was built on research I had been conducting for over 2 years into what I called micro-moment marketing, the practice of identifying and capitalizing on the brief windows of time when consumers were most receptive to brand messaging and most likely to take meaningful action. Unlike traditional marketing approaches that relied on broad demographic targeting and general messaging, micro-moment marketing used real-time data analysis to identify specific behavioral triggers and deliver highly personalized content at precisely the moments when individual consumers were most likely to engage. The technical aspects of the strategy required sophisticated integration of multiple data sources, including social media activity, search behavior, purchase history, and location data, to create dynamic consumer profiles that could predict optimal timing and messaging for marketing interventions. The approach also incorporated elements of behavioral psychology and neuroscience research to understand the emotional and cognitive factors that influenced consumer decision-making in digital environments. Most importantly, the framework was designed to be scalable across different industries and consumer segments, while maintaining the personalization and authenticity that younger demographics increasingly demanded from brand interactions. I had spent months developing the theoretical framework, and had begun creating practical implementation guidelines that could be adapted for different types of campaigns and client objectives. The research involved analyzing thousands of consumer interactions across multiple platforms and demographics, identifying patterns and correlations that could inform more effective marketing strategies. I had also been testing elements of the approach through small-scale campaigns and personal projects, gathering data that demonstrated significant improvements in engagement rates and conversion metrics compared to conventional marketing methods. The breakthrough moment came when I realized that my micro-moment marketing framework could be specifically applied to address one of Zenith's most challenging client relationships. Velocity Sports, a rapidly growing athletic wear company, had been struggling to establish market share in the highly competitive fitness apparel sector, dominated by established brands like Nike and Adidas. Velocity's target demographic consisted primarily of young professionals and fitness enthusiasts who valued authenticity and social responsibility in their brand choices. But the company had been unable to develop marketing campaigns that effectively communicated their unique value proposition to this sophisticated consumer segment. Traditional marketing approaches had failed to generate significant traction for Velocity Sports, because their messaging was indistinguishable from countless other athletic wear brands trying to appeal to similar demographics. The company's previous campaigns had relied on conventional fitness imagery and motivational messaging that failed to create authentic connections with consumers who were increasingly skeptical of generic brand positioning. Velocity's leadership team had expressed frustration with their marketing results and had begun exploring relationships with other agencies that might offer more innovative approaches to brand development and consumer engagement. Preparing and narrating this story took us a lot of time, so if you are enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. I saw Velocity Sports as the perfect test case for demonstrating the practical applications and commercial potential of micro-moment marketing. The company's target demographic was exactly the type of sophisticated consumer segment that would respond positively to personalized and authentic marketing experiences. Additionally, the fitness and wellness industry provided numerous opportunities for identifying micro-moments when consumers were most receptive to brand messaging, from pre-workout motivation to post-exercise recovery and everything in between. The campaign concept I developed for Velocity Sports was unlike anything I had seen in the athletic wear industry. Instead of relying on aspirational imagery and generic motivational messaging, The strategy focused on identifying specific moments in individual consumers' fitness journeys when they would be most receptive to targeted product recommendations and brand engagement. The approach used real-time data analysis to deliver personalized content that aligned with each consumer's specific fitness goals, preferences, and behavioral patterns. For example, the system could identify when a consumer was researching new workout routines and deliver targeted content about Velocity products that would enhance their training experience. Similarly, the framework could recognize when someone was sharing fitness achievements on social media and respond with personalized congratulations and relevant product suggestions. The strategy also incorporated location-based targeting to reach consumers when they were at gyms, running trails, or other fitness-related locations where they would be most likely to consider athletic wear purchases. The technical implementation required developing partnerships with fitness apps and wearable device manufacturers to access real-time activity data, as well as creating sophisticated algorithms that could analyze multiple data streams to identify optimal marketing intervention points. The campaign also included components for user-generated content and community building that would leverage consumers' social networks to amplify brand messaging through authentic peer recommendations, rather than traditional advertising approaches. The creative elements of the campaign were designed to feel organic and helpful, rather than promotional, focusing on providing genuine value to consumers through personalized fitness tips, product recommendations, and community connections. The messaging emphasized Velocity's commitment to supporting individual fitness journeys rather than promoting generic lifestyle aspirations, creating opportunities for authentic brand relationships that could develop into long-term customer loyalty. I had spent weeks developing detailed implementation plans, budget projections, and performance metrics that demonstrated the campaign's potential for generating significant return on investment for Velocity Sports. The research supporting the strategy included case studies from other industries where similar approaches had proven successful, as well as pilot testing data that showed promising results for key engagement and conversion metrics. Most importantly, I had identified specific ways that the micro-moment marketing framework could be adapted for other Zenith clients, creating opportunities for the agency to establish industry leadership in innovative digital marketing strategies. The presentation I prepared for Marcus was comprehensive and meticulously researched, including visual demonstrations of how the technology would work, detailed explanations of the consumer psychology research supporting the approach, and specific projections for campaign performance and client satisfaction. I had also prepared materials showing how the strategy could be scaled across Zenith's entire client portfolio, potentially creating new revenue streams and competitive advantages that would position the agency as a leader in next-generation marketing services. I was genuinely excited about the opportunity to present the micro-moment marketing strategy to Marcus because I believed it represented exactly the kind of innovative thinking that Zenith needed to differentiate itself in the competitive Chicago advertising market. The approach addressed real consumer needs and preferences while creating measurable business value for clients, combining the authenticity and personalization that modern consumers demanded with the performance metrics and return on investment that clients required from their marketing investments. The meeting was scheduled for a Thursday afternoon in Marcus's corner office, a space that reflected his status within the agency's hierarchy, with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Chicago River and modern furniture that projected authority and creative sophistication. I had prepared extensively for the presentation, anticipating potential questions and objections while organizing my materials to build a compelling case for the strategy's commercial potential and strategic value. Marcus seemed distracted when I arrived for our meeting, checking his phone frequently and appearing to focus more on other priorities than on my presentation. However, I proceeded with confidence, believing that the strength of my research and the potential impact of the strategy would capture his attention and generate enthusiasm for moving forward with implementation. I began by outlining the current challenges facing Zenith's clients in the digital marketing landscape and explaining how traditional approaches were failing to generate the kind of authentic engagement that younger consumers increasingly expected from brand interactions. The presentation progressed through the theoretical framework supporting micro-moment marketing, including the consumer psychology research and behavioral analysis that informed the strategy's development. I explained how real-time data analysis could identify optimal timing for marketing interventions, and how personalized messaging could create more meaningful connections between brands and consumers. The technical aspects of the implementation were complex, but I had prepared clear explanations and visual demonstrations that showed how the system would work in practical applications. When I reached the specific application of the strategy to Velocity Sports, I could see that Marcus was paying closer attention, though his expression remained skeptical throughout my explanation of how micro-moment marketing could address the company's specific challenges and competitive position. I presented detailed projections showing potential improvements in engagement rates, conversion metrics, and customer acquisition costs, along with comparisons to the performance of Velocity's previous marketing campaigns using traditional approaches. The budget requirements for implementing the strategy were significant but reasonable given the potential return on investment and the competitive advantages it could create for both Velocity Sports and Zenith Marketing Solutions. I had researched the costs of necessary technology partnerships and data analytics services, and I had developed implementation timelines that would allow for gradual rollout and performance optimization based on initial results. The proposal also included provisions for measuring campaign effectiveness and making adjustments based on real-world performance data. Marcus listened to the entire presentation without interrupting, though his body language suggested growing skepticism as I explained the more innovative aspects of the strategy. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair and was quiet for several moments, apparently considering the materials I had presented and the implications of implementing such a comprehensive departure from Zenith's established marketing approaches. His initial questions focused on the technical complexity of the implementation and the potential risks associated with relying on sophisticated data analysis and technology partnerships that might be difficult to manage or control. Marcus expressed concerns about whether clients would understand and appreciate the value of such a complex approach, particularly when simpler strategies had proven effective for achieving basic marketing objectives in the past. He also questioned whether the younger demographics that would respond most positively to micro-moment marketing represented a large enough market segment to justify the investment in developing new capabilities and processes. I addressed each of his concerns with specific data and examples from my research, explaining how the strategy could be adapted for different client needs and how the technology requirements could be managed through partnerships with established vendors and service providers. I emphasized that the approach was designed to be scalable and flexible, allowing for implementation across different industries and consumer segments, while maintaining the personalization and authenticity that made it effective. The conversation continued for nearly an hour, as Marcus raised additional questions about implementation logistics, performance measurement, and client acceptance. While some of his concerns were legitimate and reflected important considerations for any major strategic initiative, I began to sense that his skepticism went deeper than practical concerns about execution or resource requirements. Marcus seemed fundamentally uncomfortable with the innovative nature of the approach and the departure it represented from established marketing practices that had formed the foundation of his professional success. When I finished addressing his questions and concerns, Marcus was quiet again for several minutes, apparently weighing the merits of the proposal against his reservations about its complexity and departure from conventional approaches. The silence in his office felt heavy with tension as I waited for his response, hoping that the strength of my research and the potential benefits of the strategy would overcome his apparent reluctance to embrace such a significant innovation. Finally, Marcus looked up from the presentation materials and spoke with a tone that immediately indicated his decision. "Sarah, I appreciate the time and effort you've put into developing this proposal, but I have to be honest with you about my assessment of its viability for our clients and our agency. While I can see that you've done extensive research and put considerable thought into the theoretical framework, I think this micro-moment marketing concept is fundamentally impractical for the kind of results-oriented environment we operate in here at Zenith." His critique continued with increasing intensity as he explained his objections to what he characterized as an overly complex and unproven approach that would be difficult for clients to understand and even more difficult for the agency to implement effectively. Marcus argued that the strategy relied too heavily on sophisticated technology and data analysis that could malfunction or produce unreliable results, creating risks for both campaign performance and client relationships that could damage Zenith's reputation in the competitive Chicago market. The most painful part of his response was his dismissal of the consumer behavior research that had formed the foundation of my strategy development. Marcus characterized my analysis of micro-moments and personalized engagement as academic theorizing that didn't reflect the practical realities of marketing in competitive commercial environments. He suggested that younger consumers weren't actually as sophisticated or demanding as my research indicated, and that traditional marketing approaches remained effective for achieving the brand awareness and sales objectives that clients ultimately cared about most. Marcus concluded his critique by explaining that Velocity Sports needed reliable marketing strategies that could deliver predictable results within established budgets and timelines, not experimental approaches that might require months of testing and optimization before producing measurable outcomes. He indicated that he would be recommending a more conventional campaign strategy for Velocity that relied on proven tactics and established platforms rather than the innovative but unproven approach I had proposed. The rejection was devastating not only because of the months of work I had invested in developing the strategy, but because of Marcus's dismissive tone and his apparent inability to recognize the potential value of the approach. His critique felt personal rather than professional, suggesting that my enthusiasm for innovation represented a fundamental misunderstanding of marketing principles, rather than a legitimate attempt to address real challenges in the digital landscape. As I gathered my presentation materials and prepared to leave Marcus's office, I felt a combination of disappointment and frustration that was unlike anything I had experienced in my professional career. The micro-moment marketing strategy represented not just a campaign proposal but a comprehensive framework that I believed could transform how brands connected with consumers in the digital age. Marcus's rejection felt like a dismissal of everything I had been working toward since joining Zenith, and a fundamental misunderstanding of where the marketing industry was heading. Walking back to my desk through the open workspace that had once felt creative and inspiring, I couldn't help but notice how differently I perceived the environment after Marcus's rejection of my proposal. The exposed brick walls and industrial lighting that had seemed sophisticated and forward-thinking now felt hollow and superficial, reflecting an agency culture that claimed to value innovation while actually preferring the safety and predictability of conventional approaches. My colleagues seemed oblivious to the personal and professional crisis I was experiencing, continuing their conversations about weekend plans and routine project updates, while I struggled to process what had just happened in Marcus's office. The rejection of my proposal felt like more than just a business decision. It felt like a fundamental misunderstanding of my capabilities and vision for the future of digital marketing. That evening, sitting in my Lincoln Park apartment with a glass of wine and my laptop open to the presentation I had spent months preparing, I found myself questioning everything about my career trajectory and my place within Zenith Marketing Solutions. The micro-moment marketing strategy still seemed revolutionary and commercially viable to me, but Marcus's critique had raised doubts about whether I was out of touch with industry realities or too focused on theoretical possibilities rather than practical business applications. The more I thought about the meeting, the more convinced I became that Marcus's rejection was based on fear rather than legitimate concerns about the strategy's effectiveness or viability. The marketing industry was changing rapidly, and agencies that failed to adapt to new consumer behaviors and technological capabilities would inevitably lose market share to more innovative competitors. Marcus's preference for conventional approaches might feel safer in the short term, but it would ultimately limit Zenith's growth potential and competitive position. Over the weekend, I found myself researching other agencies in Chicago that might be more receptive to innovative marketing strategies and forward-thinking approaches to consumer engagement. The process was depressing because it forced me to acknowledge that leaving Zenith would mean starting over at a new organization where I would need to rebuild relationships and prove my capabilities all over again. However, staying at an agency where my ideas were dismissed without serious consideration seemed equally problematic for my long-term career development. Monday morning brought a team meeting where Marcus presented the conventional campaign strategy he had decided to recommend for Velocity Sports. The approach relied on traditional fitness imagery and motivational messaging distributed through established social media platforms and digital advertising channels. While the strategy was professionally competent and aligned with industry best practices, it was also generic and indistinguishable from campaigns that dozens of other athletic wear brands were implementing with similar target demographics. Watching Marcus present his conventional approach to the same client challenges that I believed my micro-moment marketing strategy could address more effectively was frustrating and disheartening. The meeting felt like a missed opportunity not only for Velocity Sports but for Zenith's position in the competitive Chicago advertising market. However, I remained professional throughout the discussion and even offered constructive suggestions for optimizing elements of Marcus's proposed campaign. The weeks that followed Marcus's rejection of my proposal were among the most challenging of my professional career. I continued working on assigned projects and maintaining positive relationships with colleagues, but I felt increasingly disconnected from Zenith's creative process and strategic direction. The agency's emphasis on conventional approaches and proven strategies began to feel limiting rather than reliable, and I found myself questioning whether I could achieve my professional goals within such a conservative organizational culture. During this period of reflection and uncertainty, I began to consider possibilities that I had never seriously explored before. The micro-moment marketing strategy still seemed viable and potentially transformative, but implementing it would require working with organizations that were willing to embrace innovation and take calculated risks in pursuit of competitive advantages. If Zenith wasn't prepared to be that kind of organization, perhaps I needed to find other ways to bring my vision to reality. The idea that would ultimately change everything began as a casual conversation with my friend Jessica Martinez, a freelance marketing consultant who had built her own practice working with smaller companies that couldn't afford full-service agency relationships. Jessica and I had developed a friendship during our graduate school days at Northwestern, and we had maintained regular contact as our careers evolved in different directions within Chicago's marketing community. Jessica was familiar with my work at Zenith and had always been supportive of my interest in innovative marketing strategies and emerging consumer behavior trends. When I mentioned Marcus's rejection of my micro-moment marketing proposal during one of our regular coffee meetings, Jessica's response was immediate and enthusiastic. She couldn't understand why any creative director would dismiss such a sophisticated and well-researched approach to consumer engagement, especially given the growing evidence that traditional marketing methods were becoming less effective with younger demographics. More importantly, Jessica mentioned that she had been working with several smaller companies that were struggling with exactly the kinds of challenges that my micro-moment marketing strategy was designed to address. These businesses were operating in competitive markets where they couldn't rely on big advertising budgets or established brand recognition to attract customers. Instead, they needed innovative approaches that could create authentic connections with consumers and generate measurable results within limited resources. Jessica suggested that I consider developing the micro-moment marketing strategy independently, perhaps through consulting relationships with companies that would appreciate its innovative approach and potential for creating competitive advantages. She pointed out that successful implementation of the strategy with smaller clients could create case studies and performance data that would demonstrate its effectiveness to larger organizations that might initially be skeptical of unproven approaches. The possibility of pursuing independent consulting work was both exciting and terrifying. While it would provide opportunities to implement my vision without the constraints of conservative agency culture, it would also require leaving the stability and resources of Zenith to build something entirely new. The financial risks were significant, and there was no guarantee that potential clients would be any more receptive to innovative marketing strategies than Marcus had been. However, the more I considered Jessica's suggestion, the more appealing it became. Working independently would allow me to focus entirely on developing and refining the micro-moment marketing framework without having to compromise my vision to fit within established agency processes and client expectations. It would also provide opportunities to work directly with business owners and marketing decision-makers, who might be more willing to embrace innovative approaches if they understood the potential benefits for their specific situations. The decision to explore independent consulting opportunities was gradual rather than immediate, developing over several weeks of research and planning that I conducted during evenings and weekends, while continuing my regular responsibilities at Zenith. I began reaching out to contacts in Chicago's business community to assess interest in innovative marketing strategies and to identify companies that might benefit from the kind of personalized consumer engagement that micro-moment marketing could provide. The response to my informal market research was more positive than I had expected. Several small business owners and marketing managers expressed frustration with conventional advertising approaches that failed to generate meaningful engagement with their target demographics. They were particularly interested in strategies that could provide measurable results and return on investment rather than just brand awareness or general market presence. One conversation that proved particularly influential was with David Kim, the founder of a boutique fitness studio chain that was expanding throughout the Chicago metropolitan area. David's business model focused on providing personalized training experiences for professionals who wanted effective workouts that fit into demanding schedules. His target demographic consisted exactly of the sophisticated consumers who would respond positively to micro-moment marketing approaches, but his previous marketing efforts had failed to communicate his unique value proposition effectively. David explained that traditional fitness marketing focused on aspirational imagery and generic motivational messaging that didn't resonate with his target customers' actual needs and preferences. His clients valued efficiency, personalization, and measurable results rather than fitness lifestyle fantasies, but he had been unable to develop marketing strategies that effectively communicated these benefits. More importantly, David was frustrated by the lack of reliable data about which marketing efforts were actually driving new client acquisition, and which were simply generating vanity metrics without commercial impact. The challenges David described were exactly the kinds of problems that micro-moment marketing was designed to solve. His target demographic consisted of busy professionals who made fitness decisions based on convenience, effectiveness, and personal recommendations rather than broad advertising campaigns. Identifying the specific moments when these consumers were most receptive to fitness-related messaging could create opportunities for highly targeted and effective marketing interventions that would generate measurable business results. I outlined how micro-moment marketing could address David's specific challenges by identifying optimal timing for reaching potential clients when they were most likely to consider fitness options. The strategy could incorporate real-time data about work schedules, travel patterns, and social activities to deliver personalized messaging when individuals were most receptive to information about convenient workout solutions. The approach could also leverage customer success stories and peer recommendations to create authentic endorsements that would resonate more effectively than traditional advertising content. David's enthusiasm for the micro-moment marketing concept was immediate and genuine. He understood intuitively how personalized and timely messaging could be more effective than conventional fitness marketing, and he was excited about the possibility of measuring actual business impact rather than just engagement metrics. Most importantly, he was willing to invest in testing innovative approaches if they could provide competitive advantages in Chicago's saturated fitness market. The conversation with David Kim marked a turning point in my thinking about the future of my career and the potential for implementing micro-moment marketing strategies outside of traditional agency structures. His willingness to embrace innovation and take calculated risks in pursuit of business results demonstrated that there were organizations and leaders who would appreciate the value of sophisticated marketing approaches, even if established agencies like Zenith were too conservative to recognize their potential. Over the following weeks, I had similar conversations with several other business owners and marketing professionals who expressed interest in innovative approaches to consumer engagement and digital marketing. These discussions confirmed that there was genuine market demand for the kind of sophisticated and personalized marketing strategies that I had been developing, particularly among smaller companies that needed to maximize the effectiveness of limited marketing budgets. The growing evidence of market interest in micro-moment marketing approaches gave me the confidence to begin seriously considering leaving Zenith to pursue independent consulting opportunities. While the transition would involve significant risks and uncertainties, it would also provide opportunities to implement my vision without the constraints and compromises that had characterized my experience working under Marcus's conservative leadership. The decision to move forward with independent consulting was ultimately driven by a combination of professional frustration and entrepreneurial excitement that had been building since Marcus's rejection of my proposal. I realized that continuing to work within Zenith's conservative culture would limit my ability to develop and implement the kind of innovative strategies that I believed represented the future of digital marketing. More importantly, the positive responses I had received from potential clients suggested that there were real business opportunities for agencies and consultants who could provide sophisticated and effective alternatives to conventional marketing approaches. The moment that would change everything arrived on a Tuesday morning in late September, when I received an unexpected email from Amanda Rodriguez, the Chief Marketing Officer at Pinnacle Digital, Zenith's primary competitor in the Chicago market. Amanda's message was brief but intriguing, requesting a confidential meeting to discuss potential collaboration opportunities that might be of mutual interest. The timing was particularly significant because I had been increasingly frustrated with the limitations of working under Marcus's conservative leadership, and I had begun seriously considering whether my professional future lay outside of Zenith Marketing Solutions. Pinnacle Digital occupied a prominent position in Chicago's advertising landscape as one of the city's most innovative and rapidly growing marketing agencies. The company had built its reputation by embracing emerging technologies and experimental approaches that larger, more established agencies often avoided due to concerns about client acceptance and implementation complexity. Under Amanda Rodriguez's leadership, Pinnacle had developed a portfolio of successful campaigns that demonstrated the commercial viability of sophisticated digital marketing strategies that went well beyond conventional social media advertising and traditional brand messaging. Amanda Rodriguez herself was something of a legend in Chicago's marketing community, having built her career by consistently identifying and capitalizing on emerging trends in consumer behavior and digital technology. At 38, she had already established herself as one of the most influential marketing executives in the Midwest, with a track record of successful campaigns for major brands and a reputation for developing talent within her organization. More importantly for my situation, Amanda was known for her willingness to take calculated risks on innovative strategies that promised significant competitive advantages, even when those approaches challenged established industry practices. The email from Amanda arrived at a moment when I was feeling particularly discouraged about my prospects for implementing innovative marketing strategies within Zenith's conservative organizational culture. Marcus's rejection of my micro-moment marketing proposal had left me questioning whether I would ever have opportunities to work on the kind of sophisticated campaigns that I believed represented the future of digital advertising. The possibility of a conversation with someone who had built her career on exactly the kind of innovation that Marcus seemed determined to avoid was both exciting and nerve-wracking. I agreed to meet Amanda at a coffee shop in Lincoln Park, far enough from both Zenith and Pinnacle offices to ensure confidentiality while providing a neutral environment for what could potentially be a career-defining conversation. The location choice reflected the sensitive nature of any discussion between employees of competing agencies, particularly when that conversation might involve strategic information or personnel recruitment considerations that could affect both organizations' competitive positions. Amanda arrived precisely on time, projecting the kind of professional confidence and strategic focus that had made her successful in Chicago's competitive marketing environment. She was impeccably dressed in a way that suggested both creativity and business acumen, and she carried herself with the assurance of someone who was comfortable making important decisions and taking responsibility for their consequences. Her immediate presence and focused attention made it clear that this meeting represented more than casual networking or general industry conversation. After we had settled into a corner table with our coffee, Amanda began the conversation by expressing her familiarity with my work at Zenith and her respect for the innovative thinking that several industry colleagues had mentioned in connection with my recent projects. She explained that Pinnacle Digital was constantly seeking talented professionals who could contribute to the agency's mission of developing cutting-edge marketing strategies that delivered measurable results for clients while pushing the boundaries of what was possible in digital advertising. What Amanda said next fundamentally changed my understanding of my professional situation and the opportunities that might be available for implementing the micro-moment marketing strategies I had been developing. She explained that Pinnacle had been researching emerging trends in personalized consumer engagement and real-time marketing optimization, exploring potential competitive advantages that could be gained through sophisticated data analysis and behavioral targeting. The agency was particularly interested in developing capabilities that could identify optimal timing and messaging for marketing interventions, creating opportunities for unprecedented levels of consumer engagement and conversion. Amanda's description of Pinnacle's strategic interests aligned almost perfectly with the micro-moment marketing framework I had been developing, suggesting either an extraordinary coincidence or the possibility that industry leaders were independently recognizing the same opportunities and challenges that had driven my research. More importantly, her enthusiasm for innovative approaches and willingness to invest in unproven strategies represented exactly the kind of organizational culture that I believed would be necessary for successfully implementing sophisticated marketing technologies and methodologies. The conversation continued for nearly 2 hours as Amanda outlined Pinnacle's current capabilities and strategic objectives, while carefully probing my own interests and expertise in areas related to emerging marketing technologies. She was clearly experienced in recruitment conversations and knew how to gather information about potential candidates without making specific offers or commitments that might create complications for either party. However, her questions and comments made it clear that she saw potential value in my background and strategic thinking. When Amanda asked about my current level of satisfaction with opportunities for professional growth and innovative work at Zenith, I found myself being more candid than I had intended about the frustrations I had experienced working under Marcus's conservative leadership. I explained that while Zenith was a professionally competent organization with solid client relationships, the agency's preference for conventional marketing approaches had limited my ability to explore the kind of sophisticated strategies that I believed were essential for remaining competitive in the evolving digital landscape. Amanda listened carefully to my description of the challenges I had encountered at Zenith, occasionally asking clarifying questions that demonstrated her understanding of the organizational dynamics that could either support or hinder innovation within marketing agencies. Her responses suggested that she had encountered similar situations throughout her career and understood the frustration that talented professionals experienced when their vision and capabilities exceeded the risk tolerance of their organizational leadership. Near the end of our conversation, Amanda made a comment that would prove to be prophetic in light of subsequent developments. She mentioned that Pinnacle had been approached by several potential clients who were seeking marketing strategies that went beyond conventional digital advertising to create truly personalized and timely consumer engagement experiences. These clients represented significant business opportunities for agencies that could develop and implement sophisticated targeting and optimization capabilities, but they also required the kind of innovative thinking and technical expertise that was rare within the traditional advertising industry. Amanda suggested that professionals who could bridge the gap between marketing strategy and advanced technology implementation would find numerous opportunities in the evolving digital landscape, particularly with organizations that were willing to invest in competitive advantages rather than simply maintaining market position through conventional approaches. Her comments seemed to be directed specifically at my situation and interests, though she was careful to frame them as general industry observations rather than specific recruitment pitches. As our meeting concluded, Amanda provided me with her direct contact information and encouraged me to reach out if I ever wanted to discuss potential collaboration opportunities or simply continue our conversation about emerging trends in digital marketing. She emphasized that Pinnacle was always interested in connecting with talented professionals who shared the agency's commitment to innovation and client success, regardless of their current employment situation. Walking back to my apartment after the meeting with Amanda, I felt a combination of excitement and uncertainty that reflected the significant implications of the conversation we had just concluded. The possibility of working with an organization that actively sought innovative marketing strategies represented exactly the kind of opportunity I had been hoping to find, but pursuing such possibilities would require making difficult decisions about my future at Zenith and the stability that my current position provided. More importantly, Amanda's interest in emerging marketing technologies and personalized consumer engagement suggested that Pinnacle might be receptive to exactly the kind of sophisticated strategies that Marcus had dismissed as impractical and overly complex. The micro-moment marketing framework I had developed could potentially find a more welcoming environment at an agency that prioritized innovation and competitive advantage over conventional approaches and predictable results. Over the following days, I found myself repeatedly thinking about Amanda's comments regarding clients who were seeking advanced marketing capabilities and agencies that could provide sophisticated technological solutions. The conversation had highlighted the gap between the conservative approaches favored by organizations like Zenith and the innovative strategies that forward-thinking clients were beginning to demand from their marketing partners. The more I considered Amanda's observations about industry trends and client expectations, the more convinced I became that the micro-moment marketing strategies I had developed represented exactly the kind of competitive advantage that could differentiate an agency in the increasingly sophisticated digital advertising marketplace. The question was whether I had the courage to pursue opportunities that would allow me to implement my vision even if doing so required leaving the security and established relationships of my current position. The decision point arrived sooner than I had expected when Marcus scheduled a follow-up meeting to discuss the conventional campaign strategy he had decided to implement for Velocity Sports. The meeting was ostensibly intended to gather input from team members about execution details and optimization opportunities, but Marcus's approach made it clear that he considered the strategic direction to be settled and was seeking implementation support rather than strategic feedback. Sitting in Marcus's office, listening to him outline the conventional fitness marketing approach he planned to recommend to Velocity Sports, I felt a growing sense of frustration and missed opportunity that crystallized my thinking about my professional future. The campaign strategy was competent and aligned with industry best practices, but it was also generic and unlikely to create the kind of differentiated brand positioning that Velocity needed to compete effectively against established athletic wear companies. Marcus seemed oblivious to the limitations of his proposed approach, focusing on execution logistics and budget allocation rather than the strategic challenges that had prompted Velocity to consider changing agencies in the first place. His confidence in conventional marketing methods reflected a fundamental misunderstanding of the evolving consumer landscape and the increasing sophistication of the demographics that Velocity was trying to reach. When Marcus asked for my input on optimizing elements of his proposed campaign, I found myself offering suggestions that attempted to incorporate some innovative approaches within the framework of his conventional strategy. However, my recommendations were clearly constrained by his predetermined direction, and I could see that he viewed my suggestions as attempts to unnecessarily complicate a straightforward marketing campaign rather than opportunities to enhance its effectiveness and differentiation. The meeting concluded with Marcus expressing confidence that his conventional approach would deliver reliable results for Velocity Sports while avoiding the risks and uncertainties associated with unproven marketing strategies. His dismissive attitude toward innovation and his apparent satisfaction with mediocre differentiation highlighted the fundamental differences in our approaches to marketing strategy and client service that had been creating tension throughout my time at Zenith. That evening, I made the decision that would ultimately lead to the dramatic confrontation that transformed both my career and Marcus's professional reputation. I called Amanda Rodriguez and requested another meeting to discuss potential collaboration opportunities in more specific terms. I explained that I had been developing sophisticated marketing strategies that aligned with the client needs she had described, and I was interested in exploring whether Pinnacle might provide a better environment for implementing innovative approaches than my current situation allowed. Amanda's response was immediate and enthusiastic. She arranged to meet me the following day at the same Lincoln Park coffee shop where we had held our initial conversation, and she indicated that she was prepared to discuss specific opportunities for collaboration that could benefit both my professional development and Pinnacle's strategic capabilities. More importantly, she suggested that I bring examples of my work and strategic thinking so that she could better understand how my expertise might contribute to Pinnacle's client service and competitive positioning. Preparing for the second meeting with Amanda required careful consideration of how much proprietary information I could ethically share about my work at Zenith, while still demonstrating the innovative thinking and technical capabilities that had generated her interest. I decided to focus on the theoretical framework and research methodology that had informed my micro-moment marketing strategy, while avoiding specific details about Zenith clients or implementation plans that might create confidentiality concerns. The portfolio I assembled for Amanda included academic research about consumer behavior and decision-making processes, case studies from other industries where personalized marketing had proven effective, and general frameworks for implementing real-time optimization and behavioral targeting. I also prepared materials that demonstrated my understanding of the technical requirements for sophisticated data analysis and the partnership relationships that would be necessary for accessing real-time consumer information. When I met with Amanda the following day, her immediate reaction to my materials confirmed that Pinnacle was indeed seeking exactly the kind of innovative marketing capabilities that I had been developing. She spent nearly an hour reviewing my research and asking detailed questions about implementation logistics, performance measurement, and scalability across different client situations and industry sectors. Amanda's expertise in digital marketing and strategic planning was evident throughout our discussion, as she identified potential challenges and opportunities that I had not fully considered during my independent research. However, her questions and comments also revealed that she understood the commercial potential of micro-moment marketing strategies and recognized how they could create competitive advantages for both Pinnacle and its clients. Near the end of our second meeting, Amanda made an offer that would prove to be the catalyst for everything that followed. She invited me to work with Pinnacle on a consulting basis to develop a comprehensive micro-moment marketing strategy for one of the agency's most important clients, a company that was seeking innovative approaches to consumer engagement and was willing to invest in sophisticated technological solutions. The consulting opportunity Amanda proposed would allow me to implement my micro-moment marketing framework in a real commercial environment while maintaining my employment at Zenith until I could evaluate whether Pinnacle represented a viable long-term career. The arrangement would provide proof of concept for my innovative strategies while generating the case study data and performance metrics that could support future implementations with other clients. More importantly, Amanda explained that the client for this initial project was someone who would appreciate and understand the value of sophisticated marketing approaches, making it an ideal test case for demonstrating the commercial viability of micro-moment marketing strategies. She indicated that successful execution of this project could lead to permanent employment opportunities at Pinnacle and involvement in the agency's broader strategic development initiatives. The client Amanda had in mind was Marcus's biggest rival in Chicago's marketing community, though I didn't fully understand the implications of that relationship at the time. She mentioned that this particular client had been seeking agencies that could provide innovative alternatives to conventional marketing approaches, and had specifically expressed interest in sophisticated targeting and personalization capabilities that went beyond traditional demographic segmentation. Amanda's offer represented exactly the kind of opportunity I had been hoping to find, providing a chance to implement my vision in a supportive environment while testing its commercial viability with a client who would appreciate innovative approaches. However, accepting the consulting arrangement would require careful management of potential conflicts with my continuing employment at Zenith, particularly if the project involved strategies or clients that might be considered competitive sensitive information. I agreed to Amanda's proposal with the understanding that I would need to maintain strict confidentiality about the consulting work and ensure that it didn't interfere with my responsibilities at Zenith. We established protocols for communication and project management that would allow me to work on the Pinnacle consulting project during evenings and weekends, while continuing to fulfill my obligations as a full-time employee at Zenith. The initial phase of the consulting project involved adapting my micro-moment marketing framework to address the specific challenges and objectives of Amanda's client. The work required extensive research into the client's industry, target demographics, and competitive environment, as well as detailed planning for implementation logistics and performance measurement systems. Over the following weeks, I found myself leading a double professional life, maintaining my regular responsibilities at Zenith, while secretly developing sophisticated marketing strategies for Pinnacle's client during my personal time. The arrangement was exhausting but exhilarating, providing opportunities to implement innovative approaches that demonstrated the practical applications and commercial potential of micro-moment marketing. The consulting work with Pinnacle also provided insights into the significant differences between the two agencies' organizational cultures and approaches to client service. While Zenith prioritized predictability and established best practices, Pinnacle encouraged experimentation and innovation that could create competitive advantages for clients willing to invest in sophisticated strategies. Working with Amanda Rodriguez and her team at Pinnacle revealed the kind of collaborative and supportive environment that I had been seeking throughout my career. The agency's professionals were genuinely excited about developing innovative solutions and were willing to invest the time and resources necessary for implementing sophisticated strategies that promised significant competitive advantages. The contrast between Pinnacle's innovative culture and Zenith's conservative approach became increasingly stark as I continued working on both organizations' projects simultaneously. Marcus's conventional campaign for Velocity Sports began to seem even more limited and generic when compared to the sophisticated personalization and targeting strategies I was developing for Pinnacle's client. More importantly, the positive response from Pinnacle's client to my micro-moment marketing framework confirmed that there was genuine market demand for the kind of sophisticated strategies that Marcus had dismissed as impractical and overly complex. The client's enthusiasm for innovative approaches and willingness to invest in competitive advantages demonstrated that forward-thinking organizations were actively seeking alternatives to conventional marketing methods. The breakthrough moment came when Amanda's client decided to move forward with full implementation of the micro-moment marketing strategy I had developed, committing significant resources to the technological infrastructure and data partnerships that would be necessary for successful execution. The decision represented validation of my innovative approach and confirmation that sophisticated marketing strategies could indeed generate commercial value for clients willing to embrace advanced capabilities. However, the client's commitment to implementing micro-moment marketing also created a timeline that would require more intensive involvement than I could provide while maintaining my full-time responsibilities at Zenith. Amanda explained that successful execution of the project would require my direct participation in implementation planning and optimization processes that couldn't be completed during evenings and weekends. The situation forced me to make a decision about my professional priorities and career direction that I had been avoiding since beginning the consulting work with Pinnacle. I could either continue my limited involvement while remaining safely employed at Zenith, or I could commit fully to implementing my innovative vision with an organization that appreciated its potential value and competitive advantages. Amanda offered me a permanent position at Pinnacle as Senior Director of Strategic Innovation, a role that would involve leading the agency's development of sophisticated marketing technologies and methodologies while working directly with clients who sought competitive advantages through innovative approaches. The position represented a significant advancement in both responsibility and compensation, but it also required leaving the security and established relationships of my current employment. The decision to accept Amanda's offer was ultimately driven by the recognition that remaining at Zenith would mean abandoning my vision for implementing sophisticated marketing strategies that could create genuine competitive advantages for clients. Marcus's rejection of my micro-moment marketing proposal had demonstrated that Zenith's conservative culture would continue limiting my ability to develop and implement the kind of innovative approaches that I believed represented the future of digital advertising. More importantly, the positive response from Pinnacle's client to my consulting work had confirmed that there was real market demand for sophisticated marketing strategies among organizations that were willing to invest in competitive advantages. Working with Amanda and her team had provided a glimpse of the kind of collaborative and innovative environment where my capabilities could be fully utilized and appreciated. I submitted my resignation letter to Marcus on a Friday afternoon, providing the standard 2 weeks' notice while carefully avoiding any mention of my future plans or the consulting work I had been conducting with Pinnacle. The letter simply stated that I had decided to pursue other opportunities that would allow for greater professional development and strategic responsibility. Marcus's reaction to my resignation was a mixture of surprise and dismissive indifference that reflected his fundamental misunderstanding of my capabilities and the value of innovative marketing strategies. He seemed genuinely puzzled by my decision to leave what he characterized as a stable and professionally rewarding position, and he made several comments suggesting that I was making a mistake by pursuing uncertain opportunities rather than continuing to build my career within Zenith's established structure. The conversation about my resignation also revealed Marcus's continued skepticism about innovative marketing approaches and his conviction that conventional strategies would continue to be effective for achieving client objectives. He wished me well in my future endeavors but made it clear that he considered my departure to be a loss for me rather than for Zenith, suggesting that I would likely discover the practical limitations of overly sophisticated marketing theories when faced with real commercial challenges. Marcus's condescending attitude during our resignation conversation reinforced my conviction that leaving Zenith was the right decision for my professional development and career satisfaction. His apparent inability to recognize the value of innovative thinking or the changing expectations of sophisticated clients confirmed that Zenith's conservative culture would continue limiting opportunities for implementing advanced marketing strategies. During my final 2 weeks at Zenith, I maintained complete professionalism while transferring my responsibilities and completing outstanding projects. I was careful to avoid any mention of my future plans or the consulting work I had been conducting with Pinnacle, focusing instead on ensuring smooth transitions for the clients and projects that would be reassigned to other team members. The transition period also provided opportunities to observe Marcus's implementation of his conventional campaign strategy for Velocity Sports, which proceeded exactly as I had expected, with predictable messaging and established tactical approaches that failed to create any meaningful differentiation from competitive athletic wear marketing. The campaign's lack of innovation or sophisticated targeting confirmed my assessment that Velocity would likely continue struggling to establish distinctive brand positioning in the crowded fitness apparel market. My colleagues at Zenith seemed genuinely surprised by my decision to leave, and several expressed regret that the agency was losing someone they considered to be one of its most creative and strategic thinkers. However, none of them were aware of the consulting work I had been conducting or the opportunities that had motivated my resignation, so their understanding of my decision was necessarily limited. Alex Thompson, one of my closest colleagues at Zenith, pulled me aside during my final week to express his concern that I might be making a mistake by leaving a stable position for uncertain opportunities in Chicago's competitive marketing environment. Alex's concern was genuine and reflected his friendship and professional respect, but it also demonstrated the risk-averse thinking that characterized Zenith's organizational culture and limited its ability to embrace innovative approaches. I appreciated Alex's concern, while recognizing that his perspective reflected the same conservative thinking that had led Marcus to reject my micro-moment marketing proposal. The conversation highlighted the fundamental differences between professionals who prioritize security and predictability versus those who were willing to take calculated risks in pursuit of competitive advantages and professional growth. My last day at Zenith concluded with a brief farewell conversation with Marcus, in which he reiterated his belief that I was making a mistake by leaving stable employment for uncertain opportunities. He offered to provide positive references for future employment while suggesting that I would likely discover the practical limitations of innovative marketing theories when faced with real commercial pressures and client expectations. Marcus's comments during our final conversation revealed his continued failure to understand the changing dynamics of digital marketing and the increasing sophistication of client expectations. His confidence in conventional approaches and skepticism about innovative strategies positioned him poorly for adapting to the evolving competitive landscape that was already beginning to favor agencies with advanced technological capabilities and sophisticated strategic thinking. Walking out of Zenith's offices for the final time, I felt a combination of relief and anticipation that reflected both the frustrations I was leaving behind and the opportunities I was moving toward. The decision to join Pinnacle Digital represented a significant risk, but it also provided the chance to implement my vision for sophisticated marketing strategies in an environment that appreciated innovation and competitive advantage. The weekend between leaving Zenith and starting at Pinnacle provided time for reflection on the journey that had brought me to this career transition. Marcus's rejection of my micro-moment marketing proposal had ultimately become the catalyst for discovering opportunities that would never have been available within Zenith's conservative organizational culture. His dismissive attitude toward innovation had inadvertently pushed me toward a professional environment where my capabilities would be better appreciated and utilized. Monday morning brought my first day as Senior Director of Strategic Innovation at Pinnacle Digital, beginning a new chapter in my career that would provide opportunities to implement sophisticated marketing strategies while working with clients who appreciated competitive advantages over conventional approaches. Amanda Rodriguez's welcoming and supportive attitude confirmed that I had made the right decision in accepting her offer and joining an organization that prioritized innovation and client success. The irony of the situation was already becoming apparent as I settled into my new role at Pinnacle. Marcus's rejection of my micro-moment marketing proposal had led directly to my recruitment by his biggest competitor, where I would be implementing exactly the kind of sophisticated strategies that he had dismissed as impractical and overly complex. The conservative thinking that he had considered to be professional wisdom was actually positioning Zenith for competitive disadvantage in an evolving marketplace that increasingly favored innovative approaches. More importantly, the client who had committed to implementing my micro-moment marketing framework was someone who would directly compete with Velocity Sports in the athletic wear market, creating the potential for dramatic demonstrations of the effectiveness of innovative marketing strategies compared to conventional approaches. The stage was set for a direct comparison between Marcus's conservative campaign methods and my sophisticated personalization and targeting capabilities. As I began working full-time on implementing micro-moment marketing strategies for Pinnacle's client, I realized that Marcus's dismissive attitude toward my proposal had created an opportunity for his biggest rival to gain access to competitive advantages that could significantly impact both agencies' market positions. His failure to recognize the value of innovative thinking had essentially handed sophisticated marketing capabilities to his primary competitor, potentially affecting Zenith's ability to retain and attract clients who were seeking advanced strategic solutions. The situation was developing into exactly the kind of competitive confrontation that would ultimately demonstrate the practical consequences of conservative thinking versus innovative strategic development in Chicago's evolving marketing landscape. Marcus's confidence in conventional approaches was about to be tested against sophisticated targeting and personalization capabilities that he had considered too complex and risky for practical implementation. The first month at Pinnacle Digital exceeded every expectation I had developed about working in an innovative marketing environment. Amanda Rodriguez had assembled a team of professionals who genuinely understood the evolving digital landscape and were excited about developing competitive advantages through sophisticated strategic thinking. The contrast with Zenith's conservative culture was immediately apparent in everything from daily conversations about emerging technologies to client presentations that emphasized breakthrough results rather than safe, predictable outcomes. My role as Senior Director of Strategic Innovation provided access to resources and decision-making authority that I had never experienced in my previous positions. Amanda had structured the position to give me direct responsibility for developing Pinnacle's most advanced marketing capabilities, while working closely with clients who specifically sought competitive advantages through innovative approaches. The autonomy and strategic focus of the role allowed me to concentrate entirely on implementing sophisticated marketing solutions, without the constant resistance and skepticism that had characterized my experience working under Marcus. The client who would serve as the primary test case for my micro-moment marketing framework was Apex Athletic, a rapidly growing sportswear company that competed directly with established brands in the fitness apparel market. Apex had been founded 3 years earlier by former executives from major athletic companies who recognized opportunities to serve sophisticated consumers through more personalized and authentic brand experiences. The company's leadership team understood that competing against Nike and Adidas required innovative marketing strategies that could create genuine differentiation, rather than simply copying established approaches with smaller budgets. What made Apex Athletic particularly interesting as a client was their target demographics overlap with Velocity Sports, the company that Marcus had been developing conventional marketing strategies for at Zenith. Both brands were seeking to attract young professionals and fitness enthusiasts who valued authenticity and personalization in their brand relationships. But Apex's leadership was willing to invest in sophisticated technological solutions that could create competitive advantages through advanced consumer engagement. Michael Chen, Apex Athletics' chief marketing officer, had specifically sought out agencies that could provide innovative alternatives to traditional sports marketing approaches. His background included experience at technology companies, where he had witnessed the competitive advantages that could be gained through sophisticated data analysis and personalized consumer experiences. Michael understood intuitively that athletic wear marketing needed to evolve beyond aspirational imagery and generic motivational messaging to create authentic connections with increasingly sophisticated consumers. During my initial meetings with Michael and his team, their enthusiasm for micro-moment marketing concepts was immediate and genuine. They recognized that identifying optimal timing for consumer engagement could create significantly more effective marketing interventions than broad demographic targeting and conventional advertising schedules. More importantly, they understood that personalized messaging based on individual behavior patterns and preferences could generate higher engagement rates and stronger brand loyalty than generic campaigns designed to appeal to large consumer segments. The strategic brief that Michael provided for Apex Athletics' marketing challenges aligned perfectly with the capabilities that micro-moment marketing was designed to deliver. The company needed to establish distinctive brand positioning in a crowded market while building authentic relationships with consumers who were skeptical of traditional advertising approaches. They also required measurable results that demonstrated clear return on investment rather than vanity metrics that looked impressive but didn't drive actual business outcomes. Apex Athletics' willingness to invest in advanced technological infrastructure and data partnerships provided the foundation for implementing sophisticated marketing capabilities that would have been impossible at more conservative organizations. Michael had secured budget approval for the analytics platforms, real-time data feeds, and personalization technologies that micro-moment marketing required, demonstrating his commitment to gaining competitive advantages through innovative strategic approaches. The implementation planning process for Apex Athletics' micro-moment marketing campaign required several months of detailed preparation that involved coordinating multiple technology vendors, data providers, and analytics platforms to create an integrated system capable of identifying optimal engagement opportunities and delivering personalized content in real time. The complexity of the technical requirements had been one of Marcus's primary concerns about the strategy's viability, but Amanda's support and Pinnacle's resources made it possible to address implementation challenges systematically and professionally. Working with Pinnacle's technology team to develop the infrastructure for micro-moment marketing provided insights into the practical considerations that would determine the strategy's success or failure in real commercial environments. The system needed to process multiple data streams simultaneously while maintaining consumer privacy and regulatory compliance, creating technical challenges that required sophisticated solutions and careful project management. The data partnerships that enabled micro-moment marketing capabilities included relationships with fitness tracking applications, social media platforms, location services providers, and retail analytics companies that could provide real-time information about consumer behavior patterns and engagement opportunities. Establishing these partnerships required extensive negotiations about data sharing protocols, privacy protections, and performance measurement systems that would ensure all parties benefited from the collaborative arrangement. One of the most innovative aspects of the Apex Athletic implementation was the development of predictive algorithms that could identify individual consumers' optimal engagement windows based on their personal fitness routines, work schedules, social activities, and purchasing behavior. The system could recognize when someone was most likely to be receptive to fitness-related messaging and deliver personalized content that addressed their specific interests and needs at precisely the right moments. For example, the system could identify when a consumer had just completed a workout and was likely to be thinking about recovery nutrition or performance optimization, providing an ideal opportunity to deliver targeted content about Apex Athletic products that could enhance their fitness experience. Similarly, the platform could recognize when someone was researching new workout routines or fitness goals, creating opportunities for personalized recommendations that felt helpful rather than promotional. The creative development process for Apex Athletics' micro-moment marketing campaign required producing hundreds of personalized content variations that could be dynamically assembled based on individual consumer profiles and engagement contexts. Unlike traditional advertising campaigns that relied on a few key messages distributed broadly, micro-moment marketing required extensive content libraries that could address diverse consumer interests and situations while maintaining consistent brand positioning and messaging quality. Working with Pinnacle's creative team to develop personalized content for micro-moment marketing revealed the sophisticated planning and production capabilities that were necessary for implementing advanced targeting strategies effectively. The creative brief needed to address dozens of potential consumer scenarios while ensuring that all content variations aligned with Apex Athletics' brand values and strategic objectives. The measurement and optimization systems for Apex Athletics' campaign represented another significant advancement over conventional marketing analytics. Instead of relying on broad engagement metrics and general attribution models, micro-moment marketing provided detailed tracking of individual consumer journeys and specific intervention effectiveness. The system could identify which engagement opportunities generated the strongest responses and optimize future targeting based on real performance data rather than demographic assumptions. Amanda Rodriguez's involvement in overseeing the Apex Athletic implementation provided valuable guidance about managing client expectations and ensuring successful project delivery in complex technological environments. Her experience with innovative marketing strategies helped navigate the inevitable challenges that arose during system development and testing, while her client relationship skills ensured that Apex's leadership team remained confident and supportive throughout the implementation process. The testing phase for Apex Athletics' micro-moment marketing system began in January, with a limited rollout targeting specific geographic markets and consumer segments. The initial results exceeded all performance projections, with engagement rates that were significantly higher than conventional digital marketing benchmarks and conversion metrics that demonstrated clear commercial value. More importantly, consumer feedback indicated that the personalized messaging felt helpful and relevant rather than intrusive or manipulative. The success of Apex Athletics' micro-moment marketing test campaigns provided the proof of concept that I had been seeking since first developing the strategic framework. The performance data demonstrated that sophisticated targeting and personalization could indeed generate measurable competitive advantages while creating positive consumer experiences that strengthened brand relationships. The results validated my conviction that innovative marketing strategies could deliver superior outcomes for clients willing to invest in advanced capabilities. More significantly, the Apex Athletic implementation provided comprehensive case study materials that could be used to demonstrate micro-moment marketing's commercial viability to other potential clients and industry observers. The combination of strong performance metrics, positive consumer feedback, and clear competitive advantages created compelling evidence that sophisticated marketing strategies represented practical business solutions rather than theoretical concepts. During this period of intensive work on the Apex Athletic campaign, I began to understand the broader implications of the strategic decisions that both Marcus and I had made regarding innovative marketing approaches. While I was developing sophisticated competitive advantages for Pinnacle's clients, Marcus was continuing to implement conventional strategies that were becoming increasingly ineffective in the evolving digital landscape. The contrast between our approaches became particularly stark when I learned through industry contacts that Velocity Sports was struggling to achieve meaningful results from the conventional marketing campaign that Marcus had developed. The traditional fitness imagery and generic motivational messaging that he had recommended were failing to create distinctive brand positioning or generate significant consumer engagement in the crowded athletic wear market. Velocity's disappointing campaign performance highlighted the practical consequences of conservative marketing approaches in competitive environments where consumer expectations were becoming more sophisticated. The company's leadership team was reportedly considering changing agencies after several months of mediocre results that failed to justify their marketing investment or create measurable competitive advantages. The intelligence about Velocity Sports' dissatisfaction with conventional marketing approaches came from Jennifer Walsh, a former Zenith colleague who had maintained connections throughout Chicago's marketing community. Jennifer mentioned during a casual conversation that several Zenith clients were expressing frustration with the agency's reluctance to embrace innovative strategies, particularly in comparison with competitors who were achieving superior results through more sophisticated approaches. According to Jennifer, Marcus seemed oblivious to the growing client dissatisfaction and continued expressing confidence in conventional marketing methods despite mounting evidence that established approaches were becoming less effective. His apparent inability to recognize changing client expectations and competitive dynamics suggested that Zenith might face significant challenges retaining major accounts if the agency failed to develop more innovative capabilities. The information about client dissatisfaction at Zenith confirmed my assessment that conservative marketing approaches were creating competitive vulnerabilities rather than providing the stability and predictability that Marcus believed they offered. Organizations that fail to adapt to evolving consumer behavior and technological capabilities would inevitably lose market share to more innovative competitors who could deliver superior results through advanced strategic thinking. Meanwhile, the success of Apex Athletics' micro-moment marketing campaign was generating significant interest from other potential clients who were seeking competitive advantages through sophisticated consumer engagement strategies. Amanda Rodriguez reported that several major brands had inquired about Pinnacle's advanced marketing capabilities after observing Apex's exceptional campaign performance and industry recognition. The growing demand for micro-moment marketing services created opportunities for expanding Pinnacle's innovative capabilities, while establishing the agency's reputation as a leader in sophisticated digital strategy development. Amanda began planning to hire additional specialists in data analytics, behavioral psychology, and marketing technology to support the growing client interest in advanced personalization and targeting capabilities. My role in developing these expanded capabilities involved creating training programs and implementation frameworks that could scale micro-moment marketing across multiple client situations and industry sectors. The work required documenting the strategic principles, technical requirements, and creative processes that had contributed to Apex Athletics' success while developing adaptable methodologies that could be customized for different brands and consumer segments. The process of systematizing micro-moment marketing for broader implementation revealed the sophisticated planning and coordination capabilities that were necessary for managing complex technological systems and data partnerships. The framework needed to address legal compliance, privacy protection, vendor management, and performance optimization, while maintaining the flexibility and responsiveness that made personalized marketing effective. During the spring months, As Apex Athletics' full campaign rollout continued generating exceptional results, I began receiving recognition within Chicago's marketing community as a leader in innovative digital strategy development. Industry publications featured articles about micro-moment marketing principles and their applications for creating competitive advantages, while professional organizations invited me to speak at conferences and workshops about emerging trends in consumer engagement. The professional recognition was gratifying, but more importantly, it created additional opportunities for demonstrating the commercial viability of sophisticated marketing approaches to organizations that might previously have been skeptical of innovative strategies. The speaking engagements and publication opportunities provided platforms for educating industry professionals about the potential benefits of advanced targeting and personalization capabilities. One particularly significant speaking opportunity came from the Chicago Marketing Association's annual conference, where I was invited to present a case study analysis of Apex Athletics' micro-moment marketing implementation. The presentation would provide a forum for demonstrating the strategic principles and performance results that had made the campaign successful, while educating industry professionals about emerging opportunities in digital marketing. Preparing for the Chicago Marketing Association presentation required careful consideration of how much proprietary information could be shared about Apex Athletics' campaign, while still providing valuable insights for industry professionals. I worked closely with Amanda Rodriguez and Michael Chen to develop materials that showcased the campaign's innovative approaches and exceptional results, without revealing competitive sensitive details about implementation specifics or technological infrastructure. The presentation materials included general frameworks for understanding micro-moment marketing principles, anonymized performance data that demonstrated the strategy's effectiveness, and strategic insights about evolving consumer behavior and expectations. The goal was to educate industry professionals about emerging opportunities, while establishing Pinnacle's reputation as a leader in sophisticated marketing strategy development. The Chicago Marketing Association conference was scheduled for early May, creating a timeline that would allow several additional months of Apex Athletic campaign performance data to be included in the case study analysis. The additional time also provided opportunities for refining the presentation materials and ensuring that the strategic insights would be valuable for diverse industry professionals with varying levels of technological sophistication. As the conference date approached, Amanda Rodriguez mentioned that the attendee list included senior executives from most major Chicago marketing agencies, including Marcus Wheeler from Zenith Marketing Solutions. The prospect of presenting innovative marketing strategies to an audience that included my former supervisor created both opportunities and challenges for demonstrating the practical value of sophisticated approaches that he had dismissed as impractical. Amanda suggested that the presentation could serve as a powerful demonstration of the competitive advantages that could be gained through innovative thinking and advanced technological capabilities. The case study would provide concrete evidence that sophisticated marketing strategies could deliver superior results for clients willing to invest in advanced capabilities, potentially influencing industry perceptions about the viability of emerging approaches. The preparation process for the conference presentation also involved coordinating with Apex Athletics' team to ensure that their participation in the case study would support their own marketing objectives while contributing to broader industry education about innovative strategies. Michael Chen was enthusiastic about showcasing the campaign's success and was willing to participate in panel discussions about the practical benefits of micro-moment marketing for athletic wear brands. During the weeks leading up to the Chicago Marketing Association conference, I continued monitoring industry discussions about emerging trends in digital marketing and consumer engagement. The conversations revealed growing recognition among forward-thinking professionals that conventional approaches were becoming less effective, while innovative strategies were generating superior results for brands willing to embrace sophisticated technological solutions. The industry discussions also highlighted the competitive implications of the marketing technology gap that was developing between agencies that invested in advanced capabilities versus those that continued relying on conventional approaches. Organizations like Pinnacle that embraced innovation were gaining competitive advantages that could be difficult for conservative agencies to overcome without significant strategic changes and technology investments. Marcus Wheeler's apparent obliviousness to these industry trends suggested that Zenith was falling behind in developing the advanced capabilities that clients increasingly expected from their marketing partners. His continued confidence in conventional approaches positioned the agency poorly for adapting to an evolving competitive landscape that favored sophisticated strategic thinking and technological innovation. The irony of the situation was becoming increasingly apparent as the conference date approached. Marcus's rejection of my micro-moment marketing proposal had led directly to his biggest competitor, gaining access to advanced capabilities that were generating exceptional results and industry recognition. His conservative thinking had inadvertently contributed to Pinnacle's competitive advantages, while limiting Zenith's ability to serve clients who sought innovative solutions. More importantly, the success of Apex Athletics' campaign was creating market pressures that would eventually force all agencies to develop similar capabilities, or risk losing clients to more innovative competitors. Marcus's dismissal of sophisticated marketing strategies as impractical and overly complex had positioned Zenith poorly for responding to these emerging competitive challenges. The week before the Chicago Marketing Association conference, I received confirmation that the presentation had been selected as one of the event's featured case studies, with extended time allocation and prominent placement in the conference schedule. The recognition reflected the industry's interest in understanding how sophisticated marketing strategies could create competitive advantages while addressing the practical challenges of implementation and measurement. Amanda Rodriguez expressed confidence that the presentation would establish Pinnacle's reputation as Chicago's leading agency for innovative digital marketing, while demonstrating the commercial value of advanced strategic thinking. She also anticipated that the case study would generate additional client interest and business development opportunities for the agency's expanding innovative capabilities. As I put the finishing touches on my presentation materials, I reflected on the journey that had brought me from Marcus's dismissive rejection to industry recognition as a leader in innovative marketing strategy. His failure to recognize the value of sophisticated approaches had created opportunities for his biggest competitor to gain significant competitive advantages, while positioning Zenith poorly for the evolving digital landscape. The Chicago Marketing Association conference would provide a public forum for demonstrating the practical consequences of conservative versus innovative approaches to marketing strategy development. Marcus would be in the audience watching a presentation about advanced capabilities that he had rejected, implemented successfully by his primary competitor, generating exceptional results for a client competing directly with one of his own accounts. The situation represented a perfect example of how short-sighted thinking and resistance to innovation could create long-term competitive disadvantages that were difficult to overcome once established. Marcus's conservative decision-making had inadvertently contributed to his own agency's strategic vulnerabilities, while strengthening his biggest rival's market position. The stage was set for a dramatic demonstration of the practical value of innovative thinking versus conventional approaches, with Marcus witnessing firsthand the success of strategies he had dismissed and the competitive advantages he had inadvertently handed to his primary competitor. The presentation would mark a turning point in Chicago's marketing landscape, establishing new standards for sophisticated strategy development, while highlighting the risks of conservative thinking in rapidly evolving competitive environments. The morning of the Chicago Marketing Association conference arrived with the kind of crisp May weather that made downtown Chicago feel electric with possibility. Walking into the Palmer House Hotel's grand ballroom, I felt a surge of anticipation, knowing that within hours, Marcus Wheeler would be sitting in the audience watching me present the very strategy he had dismissed as the most ridiculous marketing proposal he'd ever seen. The irony was perfect. Marcus had unknowingly created his own professional nightmare by rejecting innovation that was now generating headlines and transforming his biggest competitor's market position. My presentation was scheduled for 2 p.m., the prime afternoon slot that conference organizers reserve for their most significant case studies. The topic: Micro-Moment Marketing: How Real-Time Personalization Transformed Athletic Wear Engagement. As industry professionals filed into the ballroom, I spotted Marcus near the back, looking confident and completely unaware of what was about to unfold. Amanda Rodriguez gave me an encouraging nod from the front row, where she sat next to Sarah Chen from Apex Athletic. Both understood the significance of this moment, not just for Pinnacle's reputation, but for demonstrating the consequences of dismissing innovation in favor of conventional thinking. I began the presentation with performance metrics that made the audience lean forward in their seats. Apex Athletics' micro-moment marketing campaign had achieved 340% higher engagement rates than industry benchmarks, 180% improvement in conversion metrics, and a customer acquisition cost reduction of 45%. More importantly, brand sentiment scores had increased by 62% among their target demographic. The numbers were staggering, representing the kind of competitive advantage that every marketing professional dreamed of delivering for their clients. I watched Marcus's expression shift from casual interest to focused attention as he began recognizing the implications of what I was presenting. Moving into the strategy explanation, I outlined how micro-moment marketing identified optimal engagement windows based on individual consumer behavior patterns. The system analyzed fitness routines, social media activity, purchase history, and location data to deliver personalized content precisely when consumers were most receptive to brand messaging. The technical sophistication drew audible responses from the audience. Several executives pulled out phones to take notes, while others leaned over to whisper urgent conversations with colleagues. The marketing landscape was evolving rapidly, and everyone in the room understood they were witnessing a fundamental shift toward personalization and real-time optimization. Marcus's face had gone pale. I could see him frantically scribbling notes, his previous confidence replaced by growing recognition that he was witnessing something extraordinary that he had personally rejected months earlier. The case study details revealed how Apex Athletic had captured significant market share from established competitors, including Velocity Sports, through authentic consumer connections that traditional marketing approaches couldn't match. While conventional campaigns relied on broad demographic targeting and generic messaging, micro-moment marketing created individual relationships that drove genuine brand loyalty. When I mentioned Velocity Sports by name as one of the brands losing market share to Apex's innovative approach, Marcus visibly flinched. The connection between his rejected proposal and his client's competitive struggles was becoming undeniably clear. During the question and answer session, Michael Chen joined me on stage to discuss the business impact from a client perspective. His enthusiasm was infectious as he explained how micro-moment marketing had exceeded every performance expectation while creating authentic connections with consumers who had previously been skeptical of athletic wear advertising. An audience member asked about implementation challenges and costs. Michael's response was devastating for Marcus. The investment was significant, but the return has been extraordinary. We initially approached our previous agency with interest in innovative strategies, but they recommended conventional approaches that simply weren't delivering results. Switching to Pinnacle and implementing micro-moment marketing was the best business decision we've made. Marcus looked like he'd been physically struck. His client, Velocity Sports, was struggling with the exact conventional strategies that Michael was describing as ineffective, while his biggest competitor was achieving unprecedented success with the approach he had rejected. The presentation concluded with framework principles that other organizations could adapt for their own micro-moment marketing implementations. The response was immediate and overwhelming, with dozens of attendees requesting follow-up meetings and several major brands expressing interest in developing similar capabilities. As the audience filed out, I watched Marcus remain seated, staring at his notes with the expression of someone processing a professional catastrophe. He had rejected innovation that was now generating industry recognition while his own clients struggled with outdated approaches that were becoming increasingly ineffective. Amanda Rodriguez approached the stage with genuine pride in her expression. "That was extraordinary, Sarah. I've already received 3 serious inquiries from major brands, and the conference organizers want to feature this case study in their annual publication." The validation was gratifying, but the real satisfaction came from knowing that Marcus had witnessed firsthand the consequences of dismissing innovative thinking. His conservative decision-making had inadvertently strengthened his biggest competitor while weakening his own agency's position in the evolving marketplace. Over the following weeks, the impact of the presentation became increasingly apparent. Pinnacle Digital received a flood of new business inquiries from organizations seeking micro-moment marketing capabilities, while industry publications featured articles about the competitive advantages of sophisticated personalization strategies. More significantly, rumors began circulating that several major Zenith clients were questioning the agency's ability to deliver innovative solutions. Velocity Sports quietly initiated conversations with other agencies after months of disappointing results from Marcus's conventional campaign approach. The final blow came 6 weeks later when Velocity Sports announced they were terminating their relationship with Zenith Marketing Solutions and awarding their account to Pinnacle Digital. The public statement specifically mentioned their need for rather than conventional approaches that failed to generate meaningful engagement. Marcus's rejection of my micro-moment marketing proposal had directly contributed to losing one of Zenith's largest clients to his biggest competitor. The irony was complete and devastating. His conservative thinking had created the exact competitive vulnerabilities he thought he was avoiding. Within 3 months, Zenith had lost 2 additional major clients to agencies offering sophisticated digital strategies. Marcus's reputation as a creative director suffered significant damage, as industry professionals began questioning his ability to adapt to evolving marketing trends and client expectations. Meanwhile, my success with micro-moment marketing led to opportunities I had never imagined. I was promoted to Vice President of Innovation at Pinnacle, invited to speak at national conferences, and featured in Harvard Business Review as a leader in emerging marketing technologies. The micro-moment marketing framework became industry standard within 2 years, with dozens of agencies developing similar capabilities and hundreds of brands implementing personalized engagement strategies. Marcus's dismissal of overly complex approaches had positioned him on the wrong side of a fundamental industry transformation. Looking back, Marcus had taught me the most valuable lesson of my career. Sometimes the people who try to destroy your vision end up giving you exactly what you need to build something extraordinary. His rejection hadn't been a professional setback. It had been the catalyst for achieving success beyond anything I could have accomplished within his conservative constraints. The proposal he had laughed at became the foundation for transforming an entire industry. The strategy he called ridiculous generated millions in revenue and competitive advantages that redefined marketing effectiveness. His biggest mistake had become my greatest opportunity. Marcus Wheeler never recovered his reputation as an innovative leader. His name became synonymous with resistance to change and missed opportunities in Chicago's marketing community. Meanwhile, the strategy he rejected continued generating exceptional results and industry recognition, serving as a permanent reminder of the consequences of dismissing innovation in favor of conventional thinking. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out.